So everybody, welcome on in the Sooners on SI post-game podcast here from the post-game room at Bryant-Denny Stadium. Why we're not on the field, don't worry about it. Oklahoma wins 23-21 in a landmark, massive, colossal, titanic, monumental. Did we
That's
throw
the word I
over
went
there?
with.
Monumental, massive, season-defining is what I went with. Win
good.
for the Oklahoma Sooners. Ryan Chapman here alongside Carson Field. Carson, you were on the field. How was it?
It was amazing. This game was absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to have trouble putting words together to describe this game, as hopefully you guys do too, because this was just an incredible game.
Mine was easy. My story was easy.
That is John Hoover over there for the audio crew.
Brent Venables in the postgame brought up a couple of words, and I said, Brent, let's explore those words. And I had him pull them apart. Boy, he gave us a good quote about kicking the door down and responding to the fire. And Brent's been through some tough stuff in his life, and his team reflects that. Holy cow, this team is made in his image.
Yeah, it all started on Friday. Oklahoma boards the buses, boards the plane to head out to T-Town. And you might not be able to spot it if you go back and look on the social media stuff because they've all got their jackets on. But everyone has a black shirt underneath it with some white lettering on it. It said hard to kill. That's what those shirts said. And Oklahoma proved that today, 23-21. A first half that felt almost like a copy and paste at times from what we watched a couple weeks ago, Carson, at Neyland. It was an Oklahoma offense that couldn't stay on the field at times in the first half. But when the defense gave them the ball in favorable territory, they either got a touchdown or got a field goal. It was an Oklahoma defense that, despite the fact that they were on the field, that despite the fact that they gave up an early touchdown in the second half that put Oklahoma behind, they came roaring back. They ratcheted up and they locked in. And it was an Oklahoma team that snaps Alabama's 17-game winning streak at Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's an Oklahoma team that comes in and becomes the first SEC team to win on this ground. I guess technically Texas, right? But it was when they were not an SEC
Big 12,
team.
yeah.
When they were a Big 12 team, and then you go all the way back to SEC. They became the first team since Ole Miss to beat Alabama in back-to-back seasons in 14 and 15. That sounds really familiar to going into Neyland, being the first team since Georgia, blah, 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 all that stuff. And it was in large part, guys, due to another fantastic, overwhelming defensive performance. 3 turnovers forced. One of them taken back for a touchdown. This time, the touchdown did not cost Oklahoma one of its key defenders, but Eli Bowen with the early pick six. That puts them up 10-0. You had Jaden Hardy, of all people, punching out the ball from Ryan Williams' hand on a punt. And then later in the game, it was Taylor Wine. No R. Mason Thomas, no problem as Taylor Wine gets it done. Guys, this was an Oklahoma defense that had done everything but force the turnover. They had forced 4 turnovers through the first 7 games, and now in their last 8 quarters, 6 turnovers forced, 2 defensive scores, and 2 road wins in some of the most treacherous road environments in the SEC. Yeah. I said it after the game, and Hoover will dive into the grit and everything, but Oklahoma in back-to-back weeks has gotten wins at Neyland and at Bryant-Denny. The Sooners aren't just ready for the SEC. They found a home in the SEC. Welcome.
They look like an SEC team with that defense. R. Mason Thomas, 71 yards, school record fumble return to basically win the Tennessee game. Today it was Eli Bowen, 87-yard pick six interception, 8th longest interception return in school history. To basically think about the weight and where that play falls in this game. This is a 2-point win, and they had a pick six, 87-yard pick six, on which he was nearly got himself caught by the quarterback. He kind of turned into the quarterback, and Tyler couldn't catch him. But gosh, I mean, this defense, they've been good all year. They've been really good, SEC, ready, defense, all that stuff all year. And then what happens? They got 2 games on the road, 100,000 people, both games, hostile territory, ranked team. They go on the road and they handle their business. Not just handle their business, the OU defense took over the game twice.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, it's just such a 180 from what we were thinking. The overreactions that I know myself included were making about this team. I'm not sure Brent Venables has a future at OU. Now you get back-to-back wins against Tennessee and Bama, 2 very hostile environments against 2 very good football teams. I mean, there have been a lot of excuses. Oh, OU's beat Michigan. Michigan's not great. Auburn's not great. What's the excuse for Alabama? This Alabama team that's beat Georgia, LSU, Vanderbilt, Missouri, you name it. They've won the big games this year. I mean, this is a true program-defining win for Brent Venables and company after beating them last year in what was a disappointing season. I mean, it's pretty remarkable that the turnovers are coming. The defense is excellent. The offense still not amazing, but showing flashes when needed. I mean, went a long way in determining the outcome tonight, and just so massive for 2 games left, 8-2. That's way different than what we were thinking after Ole Miss.
Yeah, you look at it, guys, and Alabama outgains Oklahoma 406 to 212. Perfect for Oklahoma to land on 212. John Mateer only goes 15 to 23 for 138 through the air. Xavier Robinson, who had left the game and came back out with a big knee, I guess not quite a brace, maybe a sleeve is what we'd call it. He leads the team in rushing with 37 yards. John Mateer has 23 yards. He would have led the team if the sacks hadn't been subtracted out, but it's college football. Satania had a 21-yard run. It was not pretty, right? Or at least to our eye. Brent Venables was asked about it after the game. Not a pretty win. And, John, this kind of goes into everything that you talked about, that for Brent Venables, this was beautiful. This was a defensive game. This was a offense that nothing was perfect. And would he rather have 70 points on the board and to kick the crap out of Alabama? Sure. But I have a feeling that Brent Venables loves the collective way that basically it was like, it wasn't always beautiful, but when Jaden Hardy punches the ball out and Samuel Siegel falls on it, 2 plays later, John Mateer trucks forward 20 yards for a touchdown. It was all about they played complementary football at the exact right times, at times, and then the rest of the way, they just leaned on that Brent Venables defense.
Yeah, that's right. When you look at the final totals, I mean, offensively, Oklahoma did not play pretty football. 212 yards total offense. Time of possession was where's the time? 25 minutes to 35 minutes. Alabama had the time of possession. Here's the deal. Mateer, like you said, he completed, was it 15 of 21, I think?
15 of 23, yeah.
Only 138 yards. A little efficient, but just like you said, efficient enough at times. Enough to get a couple of first downs and flip the field and turn it over to the punter. Punter punts it down there. Grayson Miller punts it down there, and it's a fumble. And they pick it up. That game, that's the hidden yardage Brent Venables was talking about, 40 yards, whatever it was on the punt. And he cashes it in with a really determined touchdown run, 20-yard touchdown run. Another more hidden yards, the 87-yard interception return, the Isaiah Satania 42-yard punt return. It was not beautiful in the sense that, you had a bunch of yards and a bunch of first downs and kept the football all day, but they made plays at just the right time, at just the right juncture of the game, by just the right person in just the right spot. Right? Except for Kobe McKenzie when he couldn't pick up that fumble.
No.
He's just supposed to fall on it.
I would argue he made the exact right play, because if Oklahoma recovers that fumble, the Oklahoma offense is not marching down the field and scoring. What happened the exact next play?
It was an interception.
The pick six.
The pick six. That's
Even
right.
when Kobe
You're
McKenzie
right.
screws
You're
it up,
right.
it is the right moment. It is the right.
Very next play.
It's the right flub
Yep.
up for the Oklahoma defense.
Yep.
No,
Timely stuff.
and it was incredibly timely too, because you look at it, and this defense picked Oklahoma's offense up in all the right moments. You go all the way back to Oklahoma's up 3-0. The Kip Lewis goes out, gets a first down sack on that next drive, and forces Alabama to punt. Oklahoma comes out, they pick up that first down on 3rd and 2, and you're thinking, okay, can they hold the ball a little bit and keep Alabama's offense on the sideline? And then Caden Helms gets hit with a blindside block, and suddenly they're in like 3rd and 18 or 3rd and 20. They have to punt it away. Alabama's coming down. Can they finally score, get up 7-3, let the crowd start to roar? That's the drive that you had the Kobe McKenzie. It was Reggie Powers who punched it out. Kobe McKenzie almost grabbed it, didn't, pick six, all that stuff. A little bit later when I don't know how many times we sat there and toward the end of the third quarter when Alabama was up 21 to 20, and you sit there and go, okay, 4th and 6, had the touchback, then the defense goes out there, gets its stop. Okay, this is the time. You're down 1 point. We know you just got to get to the 40 to get into Sandell territory. Offense goes 3 and out, and you sit here, and I'm sure on the field, Carson, the vibes are like, okay, this is the Alabama. They have a chance to maybe go up 28-20, really put this thing out of reach. What happens on that next drive? Taylor Wine, 3rd down, strip sack. Kendall Daniels, who had a pass interference earlier in the game that wiped off a Robert Spears-Jennings interception that would have kept it from going to 10-7. Instead, it does. He falls on the football. Oklahoma able to settle for the field goal, get up 23-21, and from there, Carson, the defense gave up basically nothing, never looked back. It was everything was at the right moment for this Oklahoma defense.
No, it definitely felt that way. Like, even with the miscues, it felt like they always responded well to when they didn't play great. I know that defending the tight end was a struggle at times tonight. The secondary had its lapses at times tonight. but never a mistake that just sunk them. And they always rose up when it seemed like Alabama crowd was getting the most hyped. There was the most buzz in the stadium. The defense didn't waver for OU. It always stepped up to the plate. I mean, we've seen time and time again earlier in the year how good Ty Simpson is, how efficient he is, how explosive some of their playmakers are on the outside. And I mean, they broke off a couple of those, but not in timely moments. And I thought the last defensive possession for OU was just stellar, holding them to, I think it was 3rd and 20, something along that lines. They complete a pass, get it to about 4th and 10, and then a pass breakup by Peyton Bowen. That was just a masterclass. Kind of some bending, but not breaking. In a lot of situations, we've seen that lead to a field goal. Nothing on the final drive for Bama seals the win for OU. Just that was kind of just a symbol of how good this defense was all night.
If you look at it, for Alabama, they had 132 yards in the second half, okay? Of that, only 40 of it came in the fourth quarter, and their second half scoring drive, the 7-play, 75-yard drive, that all came on 3 plays, basically. You had the 28-yard run that immediately got him out of there. Then you had a 20-yard pass completion, a 26-yard pass completion. So that's 75 of those yards there in the second half came on that one drive. And then from there, here's the drive chart for Alabama. 3 and out, only 7 yards game. 5 plays, 10 yards game. That's the strip sack by Taylor Wine. Next up, they go backwards 2 yards. Alabama 3 and out after going 2 yards the wrong direction. Then it was 13 plays right at the end because it was trying to dink and dunk and all that stuff for Alabama. But ultimately, Oklahoma able to bow up. And like you mentioned, it was Peyton Bowen. And so you start the game with Eli Bowen, basically. Not necessarily start it, but early in the game, you have the first massive momentum swing was the Eli Bowen pick 6. And then Peyton Bowen reaches across, able to break it up and make sure that ball goes into the ground. Something that wasn't even called. Peyton Bowen was supposed to be on the running back, he said after the game. And Kendall Daniels, they all knew exactly what was happening. And Kendall Daniels said, actually, you take Ryan Williams. And Peyton Bowen's ever to come over. He was able to crown himself. Eli Bowen said that was Peyton declaring himself homecoming king, which was a talking point that was pretty badass. You don't say so myself. And it gets us to this point, guys, where we had a couple of these games last year where it was really, really hard to tell what would have actually happened had Oklahoma had a functioning offense. You look at the South Carolina game a year ago where it was over before it started. You look at the 2 turnovers right before the end of half against Texas. That thing turned around. And you go, what would it have been? What would the Missouri game have been if Oklahoma simply just had an offense that wasn't good but just didn't hand the ball to the other team? What would the Ole Miss game what would that have looked like if Oklahoma could have just put together 1 or 2 more drives in the second half in Oxford? Well, boys, we saw an offense today that like we said, it wasn't great by any means. I'm not going to come and wax poetic about the efficiency and all that stuff. But crucially, they were able to cash in when they got a turnover their way. All their points came in drives off of turnovers. There was only the one moment where they crossed into field goal territory, and then you had the intentional grounding, which I think was a bad call. And Brent Venables thought it was a bad call because Isaiah Satani was trying to get back to the line of scrimmage. Now, if Mateer had put it 3 yards further, he would have forced the issue and said that Satani was in the area, but they're usually pretty liberal with that. That was the only time that they got to field goal range and then got knocked back out of field goal range. Other than that, though, guys, you got Hoover, the OU offense that just didn't turn the ball over and found a way that when they needed to, when I say Smashmouth football, it's not like they went on a 13-play drive to kill the game, but Smashmouth football, John Mateer, how many Alabama Crimson Tide defenders did he carry to the end zone?
He ran over one guy twice.
After the Jaden Hardy punch out on the Ryan Williams part. Like, you got what you needed. Does it need to be a lot better if we're talking the big picture stuff down the line? Yes, absolutely. But on the road at Bryant-Denny Stadium, the last true road game Oklahoma may play all year long, including a college football playoff, this is what you needed, a gritty, tough performance on the OU offense.
Yeah, gritty defines it, I think, is a good word. And here's the thing with, you talked about complimentary football earlier, Ryan. I think the offense is feeling, I don't want to say pressure, but they're maybe motivated, maybe inspired by how well the defense is playing. And I don't mean just playing well, playing efficiently. They're kicking people's butts up and down the field. They're dominating the line of scrimmage. They're reaching in, knocking balls down. They're getting after the quarterback. They're scaring people on the other side of the field right now. They're scaring the other team's offense. And the OU offense goes out there and is like, okay, guys, let's see if we can get a first down. All right, ready, set, hut. And then you've got the other side of the equation, the third cube on this, or the third side on this 3-sided cube. You like that? Tate Sandell. the guy who goes out and just kicks 50-yard field goals like you and me roll out of bed and scramble some eggs in the morning. I mean, he is effortless with how he's doing this. And he said you can't get too high, you can't get too low, you can't get, after a good kick, after a bad kick. He hasn't had a bad kick since August.
Yeah, it was technically September.
Was it September?
It was the
Michigan
the
game,
first
yeah.
one against Michigan, so it was technically September.
He didn't kick against
Illinois State. It was technically
I knew it was
that.
the first game. I didn't forget it was his first game. But the offense being basically, I don't know, shown how to perform on a stage like this. And I'm not suggesting that the offense was great tonight, but the offense did just enough to get the win.
And real quick, Carson, it's not just Tate Sandell. I want to say it was both kickers for Oklahoma because Sandell rolls out 3 field goals of 25 yards, 52 yards, 24 yards. That new school record as far as consecutive field goals made, 21. He's now 7 of 7 from beyond 50. But it was also Grayson Miller, who I believe was your under-the-radar player. Was it you or was it Aber? Maybe?
I think I got PJ Adebore.
Someone,
Sorry.
you're good. Someone, I think it might have been Aber. Regardless, had Grayson Miller as their under-the-radar player, 6 punts, averaged 46.7 yards per kick, a 57-yarder to help flip field. 3 of those punts were down inside the 20-yard line. And I thought that, John, it was massive. Of the moments that Oklahoma didn't move the football, and Carson, I'll bring you in here, the moments Oklahoma didn't move the football, Grayson Miller flipped the field with a massive, massive kick. And so whether it was Tate Sandell ending with 9 points on those 3 drives or Grayson Miller, it was doing enough and barely enough for the Oklahoma offense, but I thought the kickers bailed out the offense.
Yeah, I thought the special teams, honestly, just special teams as a whole was pretty fantastic today. I mean, you look at Miller, I don't remember, was it South Carolina that he had a pretty rough game, or was that Texas? I'm blanking. I mean, obviously the one got returned against him in the Texas game. I think South Carolina, he had a couple that
He had a shank.
He had a shank, yeah. Since then, he has been lights out. Even the Ole Miss game, he was really good. He was great 2 weeks ago against Tennessee, and he was fantastic. Really, I mean, that last punt that he had pinned them very far deep. They were able to work their way out of that, but still a really good punt. He was great. Sandell, I mean, we could talk about him on every podcast, I feel like, with how good he's been. Just long kicks, short kicks. At this point, it's pretty inevitable. He's nails. He's going to make the kick. So, I mean, with an offense that doesn't have its true consistency yet, but to that point, I did want to mention they played mistake-free football for the most part today. There were a couple that Mateer would want back. Satania had that whoopsie on that fumble that went out of bounds. But overall, nothing just damning that really cost them any serious momentum, at least. So is this offense anywhere near a finished product? No. Was it good enough tonight with the help of really good special teams and really good defense? Yes.
And I think the Mateer thing is a little bit baked in, right? Every game he goes out there, there's 1 or 2 that we come back and say, Mateer probably
even his best
back.
games early in the season against Michigan and Auburn, he had some of those moments. But that just comes with being a playmaking quarterback. He's going to throw on the run. He's going to jump throw sometimes. And mistakes are going to happen with that. Thankfully, nothing just too costly. There was one, I think it was third quarter, that was like, that could be dicey. Wasn't a play made by the Alabama defense, though. Ultimately, like we said, nothing just that cost them too much.
Yeah, Oklahoma on average started on its own 43-yard line. Alabama on average started on its own 21-yard line, which when you have a defense, John, that played like this defense played today, you could have probably put it wherever and had success, but no R. Mason Thomas, no Gentry Williams, a Jaden Jackson that was really, really limited, played really 2, maybe 3 drives, but he wasn't able to really give it a go as he's the guy that had popped up on the availability report later on in the week. And you look at it and no R. Mason Thomas, guess what? Taylor Wine's on this football team. Guess what? Danny Okoye is out there in big moments, and they're moving him around. Guess what? It was Kip Lewis who was getting pressure on the quarterback. It was Devon Jordan.
Yeah, how about
you
that?
go
Deep.
deep.
Yeah.
You go deep into your cornerback rotation and dial up a corner blitz
We're gonna
for Day Jordan.
We're going to put our 5th corner, our 6th corner on the field, and we're going to blitz him right up the middle.
And he's gonna. And he's not only is he gonna get a sack. There was a brief moment. I just happened to be watching Jordan because I thought that they had screwed up pre-snap.
Yeah.
I was wrong. I was fooled just as much as Ty Simpson. And as I'm moving my binoculars in, I was like, wait a minute. There was a moment that he, like, a split second where he might have been able to rip at the ball, wasn't able to get it, which is good on Ty Simpson, and able to get that going. But, John, we're stacking up a bunch of these moments with Brent Venables at Oklahoma, his return to Oklahoma. when you consider everything about this game, Alabama, what they want to do, which was throw the ball and trust Ty Simpson, all that stuff, the fact that Oklahoma went out there and held them to 21 points, I know that doesn't sound like a dominating, overwhelming performance or anything like that, but Brent Venables said after the game, the pile was moving in the direction of the Sooners, and he himself was like, that was us. If you turn on the tape and ask who's the more physical team, he basically said there's only one answer, and it was us.
Yeah.
On Saban Field.
He's super proud of that, too. Did you guys saw the fans, right? The way they all gathered in the postgame after the game was over. They gathered in kind of a big wedge. I mean, all the people that were sprinkled around, OU fans, they all came down. I don't know, 3,000 OU fans?
Whatever the away allotment is.
Yeah.
I'd say close to 5 or 6 because
Yeah.
it was the away allotment plus
right.
friends.
Yeah,
Plus friends.
agreed. And they were everywhere in Tuscaloosa today as we drove through this morning. I thought Brent really enjoyed that. And I think the reason he enjoyed it is, I mean, he would have enjoyed it if they had beaten Alabama 38-0. Or let's say 52-30, right? He would have been down there doing the same thing. But I think it really touched his soul that this was a game he's looking back at it and saying, we're gritty, we're tough, we're dirty, we fight in the mud. He loves that stuff. And the fans are out there just, losing their minds. They don't care how you win. They just want to win, right? He's down there enjoying both the victory and the method of victory.
Well, and he also, too, if you guys go to the website, oklahomasooners.si.com, and you see any of our stories and our videos are in there, if you go to Hoover's YouTube page, John Hoover Media, and you watch any of the videos, and you've done that for 4 years, you've heard very common themes of like, we'll celebrate it for a little bit, then we got to get back on Sunday, get in the film room. The nameless faceless opponent, you got to prepare for everybody like it's everything, blah, 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 blah. That's true. That's how they prepare. But also, Brent Venables is a college football junkie. Brent Venables knows what it meant to play against Alabama, to coach against Alabama when you were Clemson in the college football playoff. Brent Venables knows what it means to still be the new kid on the block in this conference and to go to Neyland Stadium and lay your mark down. He knows what it means when you're Oklahoma, even when you're Oklahoma, to walk into Saban Field. Teams don't do that. 17 teams have tried and failed. Texas was the last one, and that snapped another big long streak. And Georgia's the last one, and that snapped another big long streak. You know what I mean? Like, Brent Venables knows what this win means, and it doesn't just mean that Oklahoma controls their own path, not just to the college football playoff, but to hosting a game in the college football playoff. It doesn't just mean that, they're 8-2, and Brent Venables doesn't have to worry about pressure, hot seat, all that stuff. Brent Venables knows what a win like this means for your program, regardless of if it was the most beautiful thing, if it was 40-38, if it was 7-0.
No, you take them how you get them against teams like Alabama. And you do any game, but especially in an atmosphere like this, a program that I think pretty undisputably has been the best in the 21st century. That is this legacy. I mean, even if it isn't Nick Saban's teams, this is still kind of what's looked at as the gold standard in college football. We want Bama chance, all of that. Winning this year, winning last year when they had a bad team, I mean, that's pretty remarkable when you just step aside for a minute and think about they've beat Bama 2 years in a row, once at home, once on the road. And this is a really good Bama team. Last year was a good Bama team. Yeah. This is a really good team. I mean, they had won 8 in a row. Some people are arguing they're the best team in the SEC. They still could be at this point. They still could be. But tonight they weren't. Oklahoma was the better team. Just all 3 phases were what they needed to be, even if that wasn't the sexiest game plan. It's what they needed to win in this atmosphere that very, very few teams have in recent memory.
Well, and just everything about this. Reggie Powers, I thought, was fantastic tonight. He's all over the place on top of Kendall Daniels. I didn't think Kendall Daniels was bad. It just wasn't as loud of a game with Kendall Daniels, but Kendall Daniels had that stretch of 3 or 4 games early in the season where you're just like, holy crap, the cheetah position. Now it's Reggie Powers coming on strong there. I thought that Cortland Guillory, he opens on the first possession of the game. What does Kalen DeBoer and Alabama do? Let's put Ryan Williams on the freshman and see what he's got. What he turns around, makes a look at the football, physical play, everything Cortland's been doing, but makes a look at the football. Guess what? No pass interference, no holding. Boom. Bob's your uncle. We talked about Devon Jordan popping in, Eli Bohm with the big pick 6.
Kip Lewis was excellent.
Kip Lewis, I thought, was all over the place. I thought Kobe McKenzie was quietly. It might not be stuff that shows up in the stat sheet, but when the chess match at the line of scrimmage of how much DeBoer, Grubb, and Simpson check in and out of stuff, how much shifting that Alabama does. And it's not just one guy. It's shifting both your receivers and tight ends all the way across the formation. Let's shift them again, move them over. For Kobe McKenzie to be pulling the strings and setting everybody up, for Owen Heineke to be in that same spot, I thought that was fantastic as well, because there were not many times that you sat there and just went, Oklahoma wasn't lined up or wasn't ready, or they had to burn one timeout to get some guys off the field just because Alabama didn't sub when I think they thought they did. But if you're just talking about one of those in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't anything major. I just thought that top to bottom, I can't really find a defender that I thought had a bad night, actually, when you go up and down.
No, that's what I was asking you during the game. We got to do this stock report, who's up, who's down, right? And I just kept saying up, up, up. And I kept typing and naming guys that were up. And I looked at Ryan and said, Ryan, who am I going to put in here that's down? Somebody's got to be down. And
It's like whoever's responsible for the tight end. That's who I would put for
cover
down.
the tight end, that's first.
That was a group effort.
Yeah,
It was.
There were, one down was an injury, R. Mason Thomas. I mean,
He's literally down.
You got to downgrade him because he's not playing. I think Kobe McKenzie might have got one for missing the fumble, and then I think he got stuffed in the line or something.
Which is actually a master. I can't wait to talk to Kobe on Monday.
Yeah.
Monday,
On the
8:35
franchise,
on the franchise. Eddie and I will talk to Kobe. Basically, we'll give him a ton of S for missing the ball, but also it was a master stroke, as we said.
Yeah. That was just an overall. I mean, they figured out how to cover the tight end, and this has been a thing since last year.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
it's been a thing for 4 years.
4 years? Is it 4 years? Because
It was also a thing for Alex Grinch. But.
Well, okay, different. Yeah. No, I remember the game at Ole Miss. It was just like, here, give it to this guy. But the offense needs to figure some things out, and they did a couple of things. Strangely, I thought. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason. I'd like to know what it is. At right tackle, between Foje and Simmons.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was experimenting or giving a young kid a break or.
I don't know if it was as much as just you got Derek Simmons back, and
Might as well keep him in.
I think that first
Yeah.
off, you're not getting like another year of Derek Simmons as a grad transfer,
Yeah.
basically, and part of it too was I think as excited as you are about Foje and a true freshman, and I certainly was not someone that said now you need to suddenly start Simmons. I think there was a moment where we know Bill Beanbo does this from time to time. The last guy that got this treatment was Hito Zaida, right, wrong, or otherwise. If things aren't just clicking, he'll make one change to
Right.
see if that can kind of spark things. And so we saw Simmons and Foje flip back and forth a little bit, but I don't know how to quantify this, guys, other than what's happening in the win column. Is you come out of the Texas game and you go, okay, there was some turbulence, and Oklahoma was not able to overcome. A lot of that in the third quarter, stayed on the field, only 3 plays for the offense. Basically, I think they technically ran 4 plays, but the last play of the third quarter going to the fourth quarter. Not able to, when Texas makes their run, respond and get back up off the mat, whether that's force a turnover or whatever. Against Ole Miss, same thing. And maybe it's just as simple as forcing the turnovers by giving the offense short fields so they can get back on the board. But for a team that was if and but, almost maybe what's happening here, what's happening there, certainly wasn't against Michigan, certainly wasn't against Auburn. Those don't look as shiny, certainly the Auburn one, as they once did. This is a team that you go into Neyland and you have that third quarter where momentum in the crowd fully swings back and you silence it, you quiet it. You have the start of the fourth quarter where, Carson, as you said, the crowd is rocking, it's going. The guys in the Oklahoma breakdown, they say winning's a skill, all that stuff. This Brent Venables team, and I don't know if anyone has the answer for it, because it's hard to put into words, they are learning how to win, and if the offense can ever get to just putting some drives together, a few drives together, this is a team with this defense and Grayson Miller and Tate Sandell and Isaiah Satania as a punt returner when he's not fumbling the football. This is a team that up and down the top 25, except for maybe Ohio State, maybe. I think that anyone else that looks around and goes, I would not like to have to game plan Oklahoma on the 2-week turnaround with Brent Venables and the way this defense is playing.
It's funny because I feel like this team, the high of what we've seen of this team could be anybody on a given day. The low of what we've seen of this team in the Red River game could lose to just about the entire top 25, I think. But I think there's been a lot of growth since that stretch where they did drop 2 of those 3 games. The defense has been even better than it was. The defense didn't lose either of those games, in my opinion. But it's sharpened up. It's starting to force those takeaways like we've talked about. Mateer looks more comfortable. It doesn't look like he was identically against Auburn, Michigan, Temple, those games, but he's looking more comfortable avoiding the big mistakes. And the run game, I mean, it wasn't great tonight. Let's not sugarcoat that. But Robinson gives them something. Blaylock, it was good to see him have a bigger role today. You would assume that he's going to see more snaps in coming games.
Especially for Robinson, we'll have to figure out.
Yeah.
In the shuffle of everything, there was not a, hey, can you update us on Xavier Robinson? Also, because it would have been, we'll look at it when we get back to Norman type of thing. But
I'll be interested to look at the Pro Football Focus numbers tomorrow or tonight to see what his yards after contact was.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't get a lot of yards, but I thought he got a lot of yards after contact, which that's his.
He didn't go down easily.
Yeah, no, I don't think he went down with one guy the whole night. It's very impressive.
yeah, it was really, really impressive.
Alabama's like, damn, he's still hard to tackle.
He's like, man, it wasn't quite 100, but
No.
even then, it was really, really frustrating. Because you look at it, Alabama is, as much as this offensive line didn't get the push that we saw at times against Tennessee, certainly against South Carolina, even in that second half against Ole Miss, Alabama only finishes with 4 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. And one of the sacks, both of the sacks, I actually thought were just 100% on John Mateer, just not getting rid of the football.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was hesitant.
Both times he was trying to make something happen. The good news is he didn't do a almost disastrous chest pass. Those weren't oh my God, he just went down. But I actually thought that both sacks were on Mateer on top of the 4 tackles for loss. It's something that you look at it, and this defense is finding ways to affect all over the place. It's spilling over into special teams because obviously we talked about the Hardy punch. Here's the Wine. Wine, the last play of the first half, jumps over, tips, blocks the field goal.
How about that?
Obviously, in a game where Oklahoma wins by 2, Taylor Wine, he said it, that they saw it on tape, and he had to clear the offensive lineman right next to the long snapper, able to get a hand on it, sprays it wide. I mean, all of that is massive, crucial, and that's Brent Venables' defenders popping up in other places of the game.
Yeah, Taylor Wine. First of all, is that not illegal anymore? When you
He didn't jump over the snapper. I think it's the
I thought
snapper.
he did. I thought he jumped over.
I think
the
you
snap.
can't
No,
get.
he-
I thought it was leverage you can't get. I thought you
There's
could.
leverage and the snapper, and he did not jump. I can tell you, he did not jump over.
You
the
can jump
center.
over a defender. You can't
I
the
was in
snapper. And
between
you can't
runs
get
to the
leverage.
bathroom, so I was a little distracted, but not too much to drink today. But no, I was
Water, obviously.
Water.
Yeah, obviously, yes. And, well, it was 2 coffees of water and 2 coffees, like 6 waters and a Red Bull. Anyway, we move on with Taylor Wine's block. If you guys see the replay on that, if you didn't see the replay, the ball is his giant long arm sticks out and it hits his ring finger. Just one ring finger, and his finger kind of bends back for super slow on replay. How much more dramatic can you get in a 2-point win than a 3-point field goal block?
Well, he was doing the money signs after.
Partial block.
Yeah.
Block. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah, that was a big momentum swing that.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to get overlooked because I didn't
Agreed.
know immediately that he got a piece of
Right.
it. But watching back, I did get footage of it. He definitely got a hand on it. Did the money, whatever you want to call it, making it rain celebration. But that was huge. It sent them back to the locker room with a lead, even if it was a 3-point lead.
Yep.
It was a 1-point margin. That is a massive play.
And they had the field goal block. Boy, we talked about this at halftime. Refresh my memory. They had all these plays going in their favor. The punch out, just a stack of plays that kind of just went in Oklahoma's favor, and they're up by 3. And you know what I said? I said it kind of feels like Oklahoma shot every bullet in its gun. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure they have enough for the second half, and for the second game in a row, they proved me wrong. I was sitting there writing. I'll be honest with you guys. This is how we do, trying to get out of here at a decent hour. I was sitting here writing my story, 4 paragraphs that Oklahoma had the lead, but Alabama came back and won the game. And
Well,
same as 2 weeks ago. I was writing, and I was like, maybe I should stop now because Oklahoma's got the lead again.
I thought I just felt like there was so much self-inflicted from Alabama in the first half that I felt like the luck would have to turn at some point. Bama would start playing better football. And it's not necessarily that they didn't. They weren't as turnover prone. They made fewer mistakes in the second half, but the OU defense was just that lights out at the end of the game that even though Bama wasn't shooting itself in its own foot as often, they still weren't able to win just because of how good the defense and special teams were.
Right, and before you guys start gloating and pointing your finger and saying, ha ha, Hoover, they really showed you, that happens to me every week. Doesn't matter who I'm covering or what's going on. I once covered a hockey team that was up 4-0 with 8 minutes to go, and I wrote the story, and the other team came back, scored 4 goals in the final 8 minutes, and won in 3 overtimes. That just
Sounds like a
happens to me.
fantastic game.
It was a fantastic game. The home team lost, but I did the Boise Bowl game.
Oh, yep.
Here's what happened in the Boise Bowl game. Oh, no, delete that. Okay, so here's what happened. Nope, delete that. So delete that too.
I just want you guys to know
That happens. It happens to us all.
This is some history, something. Only on a Oklahoma beats Alabama monumental win could John Hoover bring up Boise State. Only
right.
John could manage to make that happen.
Let's call it what it is, man. We and a lot of other people, a lot of other podcasters, a lot of other broadcasters, a lot of other writers have given Brent Venables in this program a hard time.
Me as
Why?
much as anyone. Me as much as anyone.
You as much as anyone. Why? Because they go 6-7. They've made a habit out of going 6-7. Guess what? Not this year. This team's special. The defense is damn special. And maybe they've got a special quarterback and a special kicker, guys who can make plays at the right times. And they're going to get the Torrance Marshall pick six. I'm not saying this team's going to win a national championship. I'm just saying you look back at moments in OU history. Sooner Magic crops up, and the backup defensive end blocks the field goal with his ring finger, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Sooner Magic pops up, and these things happen, and we look back at them and say, oh, yeah, no, bull crap. We thought they were going to lose this game. Wait, you picked.
I picked Oklahoma.
Okay.
And it was pretty.
We thought they would lose this game.
Pretty loud about it all week. It was. Here's what I think, and this is by far the biggest one of Brent Venables' head coaching career.
Yeah.
Oklahoma first.
At least since last week.
Well, we'll get
back-to-back biggest
We'll get there in a
wins.
second. Highest ranked road win since the 2017 game at Ohio State, and I think that it started at Neyland Stadium, and it probably started in the lead up to Neyland Stadium. But coming out of that game, and it's something that I told you guys certainly as we were heading to a bye week, that I thought the moment, and not even the moment, but the thing that had made me take a step back and go, has Brent Venables truly turned the corner, was the story that you wrote after the Tennessee game, John, which is Brent gives a big, long post-game interview, his normal post-game interview to OU Radio, and the big theme of it is when is enough enough?
Yeah.
At what point do we get the hell out of our own way
Yep.
and go win the football game? At what point do we understand football's not a perfect game? No one plays 4 quarters of perfection. You have to find a way to overcome, rally, whatever. And that's what's been missing, right? And he goes all the way back to
Clutch play.
and you can talk about last year. There were a ton of injuries, so let's set that one aside. But you go back to his first year. At what point was enough enough? When you race out to the huge lead against Texas Tech and throw it all away. When you have moments against Baylor and you throw it all away. When you have moments early against Kansas State and then you can't stop the run. At what point against Kansas in 2023 when you overcome the pick six early, you have all the weather, all that stuff. Ethan Downs gets the interception that should have won you the
To win
football
the
game,
game,
and you
right?
don't. Same thing. You get the turnover that should have happened in Stillwater that did happen that should have won you the game, and then you don't. That's been my biggest worry about the direction, all that stuff. When is enough enough? Well, that's what Brent Venables said against Tennessee, and he said it again today to a certain extent.
The players said today he actually brought it up after the Ole Miss game, meaning I guess in the post game or maybe in the Monday or Sunday after the game.
In the lead up from Ole Miss to Tennessee.
Ole Miss to Tennessee, right? They had just lost to Ole Miss at home, and you know who told me that today? Tate Sandell. Breaks the top off and says,
Sandell for Heisman. You can build around him in 2026, as I said in Columbia.
Coach comes out and says, when is enough enough? David Stone talked about it as well. We asked him several times about the T-shirt, on the front,
Hard to kill,
and on the back, when is enough, or no, enough is enough. And these are themes that this team, I said it at the top, is a reflection of its head coach. Tough, hard to kill. Think about some of the things that Brent has been through personally and professionally. All right, can we go to that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Obviously, his wife, Julie, 30 years together, 28 years, right, 1997. So almost 30 years together. 3 years ago, breast cancer. She's fighting through it. He's fighting through it. The kids are fighting through it. Think about that. Secondly, he hires a friend, right, who is a pretty accomplished coach and a noted offensive coordinator, hires him as offensive analyst,
Seth Luttrell.
and then promotes Seth Luttrell the following year after Jeff Lebby leaves to head coach, to offensive coordinator. Promotes Seth Luttrell offensive coordinator. Then what happens? Seth Luttrell lays a big fat egg, rotten stinky egg for that offense. He has to fire a guy who played for him, okay, who coached under him, who has been an accomplished coach and has been a long-time friend of his, he has to do that. This past, obviously, 2 out of 3 times he's been head coach, Brent Venables has taken Oklahoma to a 6-7 record. Nobody's done that since.
John Blake, 98.
Boom. So there we go. And then the other thing is, you know what? Going into this year, they can say it was for NIL. They can say it was for the players. That's fine. If that's how you want to label it, that's very magnanimous. Brent Venables had to give back $1 million of his $7 million contract. All those things happened to Brent. And you know what? He's got his best team so far as 4 years as a head coach. Why is that? Because he's tough. He's gritty. He's small town Kansas, right? They used to stop and steal corn on the way to the Nebraska game. I mean, this guy has got the makeup of somebody who just gets punched and punched and punched and maybe hit below the belt a couple times, and he just keeps coming at you. He just keeps coming at you, and that characteristic, that trait, has been taken on, number one, by his defense, but I think overall by the team.
Well, and it's taken a few years, right?
It has.
When we talked about...
As Ben Arbuckle, I asked him about it tonight, the example Brent sets as the head coach, he said it's a culture. Brent has done an amazing job of establishing this culture at Oklahoma.
It's finally come all the way through, because that's something that last year, and this is a popular refrain, why? Because I was texting to people as well. The culture's great. Okay, yeah, when you're 6-7, nobody cares about culture. Right. Brent Venables would say that at the podium, right? Brent Venables would say, I know that you guys don't care about it. Yep. I get it. I do. And it's something that when he was hired, we didn't know what to expect, because hiring head coaches is maybe one of the most difficult. It's more difficult than finding a quarterback at times. But we thought that it was going to be a prepared, disciplined football team. And at times, the penalties have been bad. And I know that if you go and look at the penalties this year, they're kind of milled around the SEC, but it feels like every penalty is this massive, incredible, how did this happen on a massive third down, stuff like that. It's taken some time.
Yeah.
But you've gotten to a defense that looks like it's prepared for everything that's thrown at it, except for a tight end. Yeah. It looks like it is resilient, it's overcoming, it's gritty, all that stuff. It's taken 4 years, but Neyland and Tuscaloosa, you're finally seeing a football team that is truly embodying the character of its coach. And that's why I go all the way back to when is enough, because Carson, this is not a really good defensive coordinator that you hired that was like a really good DC at like Illinois for years and years and years. And it's like, hey, his defenses are great, but what did that get you? You didn't win the Big Ten. It's a guy with national championship pedigree at multiple stops. It's a guy that's had elite defenses at multiple stops. It's a guy that's worked under Bill Snyder, Bob Stoops, Dabo Swinney. All guys who have too many rings to put on their fingers and are going to the Hall of Fames and all that stuff. This is not a guy, Carson, that we knew it wasn't necessarily him. He knows how to win at this level. We just didn't know if he knew how to win at this level as a head coach. But when is enough? Not necessarily the coach. The players are reflecting that.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this before, how the Brent Venables teams are just the 180 flip from what OU was. Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's finally flipped, and you're seeing similar success as those quarterbacks had, though. I mean, the last few years, OU fans would have just given up everything to have an 11-2 season, lose in the semifinals of the college football playoff. And now it seems like, at the very least, that's an attainable reality. And who's to say the offense isn't going to get a whole heck of a lot better with Ben Arbuckle? I mean, he's received, I think, a fair amount of praise, maybe some of it fair, maybe some of it not. But I think he's someone that can really turn this offense into something it's not at the moment. Mateers, obviously, we've seen his potential. The offense is going to get better if they give it time, and that's got to be so encouraging. With how dang good this defense is, I think it really can carry them to being in the mix, at least, for titles, which all of us at some point were probably skeptical about. Me, a couple weeks ago, admittedly.
Now, let's spin this forward real quick, guys, before we wrap up shop. And the great Jesse Crittenden has been waiting. He's waded through us podcasting. He's waded through potentially a raccoon running up and down over our heads. I don't know what's happened there. But you say college football playoff. Why? Because Oklahoma, it holds its destiny in its hands. That was the fact coming into today's game. It is still the fact coming out of it. Texas gets run by the Georgia Bulldogs. So at the very least, let's be the most cynical watchers of the CFP and all that stuff. Texas will bounce down. Oklahoma, who was the first team projected to be left out of the bracket because of G5 at ACC champ, they'll move up to at least 10. Then you look, this win today, This win, based off of just rankings, is in the argument for one of the best wins in college football this season. You've had Alabama's win over Georgia. You've had the Ole Miss victory there.
I mean, just strictly based on they are the highest ranked team with a loss. I mean, I don't think you can. Them in Florida State, I think you would say they have the best wins in college football this year.
You look at it, it's either OU over Alabama, Alabama over Georgia, Georgia over Ole Miss. That's
Right.
Ole Miss's loss, right? Like whatever that circle of pointing,
100%.
those are the best wins in college football
Yes.
this season that you put up there. And then you add Indiana over Oregon in there as well.
Yeah.
Oklahoma has that. They have that gold star on their resume. They had the gold star of what are your losses? Well, Ole Miss, boom, that's going to be a good loss. Texas, though they lost today, Texas is not going to just careen out or anything like that. Michigan was able to avoid disaster against Northwestern. Oklahoma is going to be at least 10. They're going to have potential to jump. You just have to get to 8 to not just be in the college football playoff, but host a home college football playoff game. And boys,
10?
I don't know. So
Is that low? You talking about CFP rankings?
at the bottom end, if the most cynical ranking, you just bang Texas out and slide Oklahoma up 110.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to jump Notre Dame and Oregon this weekend.
And Alabama.
And
Texas,
Alabama. Maybe not Notre Dame, because Notre Dame, the committee seems to love Notre Dame. But
good.
I think that here's the thing, that Notre Dame and Oklahoma may just slide up over Oregon. What are they going to do with Alabama? The committee's shown that if we think you're similar, we're going to put you, they've done head-to-head if you're really, really close. Now, it's not perfect up in some of the rankings, like Miami and Louisville.
8-2 with the head-to-head. I mean,
we could be looking at Oklahoma moving up to maybe 8.
It's possible. I don't know if they jump Oregon quite. Oregon doesn't have the strong. I mean, they won when Penn State was still a competent football team in Happy Valley, but they don't have a win over Bama.
Yeah, Oregon doesn't have any good wins.
No.
That's true. So
it'll be interesting too, and USC and Oregon have the big game next week.
Yep.
Washington, while not a great football team, could still be a banana peel for Oregon. I don't really see another banana peel for Notre Dame now that Pitt's out of the way.
No.
But we saw with Texas A&M that was able to build as much chaos and disaster as possible to avoid it. That
It was the inverse Aggie today.
Yes.
Usually they start the games great and end them horribly. Today they found a way. That's a whole nother tangent. Elko, he seems to be doing something very similar to Brent Venables, finding ways to win. But that's a whole. I could talk for too long about that, and we're not going to do that tonight.
I just bring that up just to say that when you look up in the top 3, while it's been really, really steady and solid, it's like these are your 3 and argue about how you put those 3.
All 3 of the undefeateds can lose.
Not
too.
impenetrable by any means. So it's a spot where I think that when you look at the totality of Oklahoma beating Alabama and when you look around and the Ole Miss win just keeps getting or loss.
Get in, and you have a chance. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, once you get to the SEC, the quality loss matters. I think that I told you guys I thought it was more likely that Oklahoma hosts a playoff game than Oklahoma makes the CFP but's heading on the road, because that to me means that they came in today, won, and that vaults them up, and it'll be really, really fascinating to see on Tuesday night what the committee says. And the committee might look at Oklahoma differently now that Mac Rhodes is off it.
yeah, well, that's true. Did we have? I'm trying to remember. Maybe I dreamed this. There was a conversation that seemed to be happening at some point in the vehicle in which we drove up yesterday, where someone said Oklahoma could beat Alabama and then screw around and lose to Missouri. I'm not going to name who that was because my memory's a little faulty, but he's got headphones on right now and he's not listening to us, which is great. You can catch this on the he can catch this on the podcast and he can catch me outside after that. No, but listen, 8-2, like Brent said, nobody's handing out any trophies for 8-2. 8-2 is not what Oklahoma rolls the helmets out every August for, right? It's not. Oklahoma plays to win national championships. They're in position right now, guys, to go 2-0 these last 2 games and get in the playoff. And like you said, anything can happen in the playoff.
Especially with this defense.
And is there anybody in college football right now that would anybody? We talked about the top 3. Any of those top 3 or anybody else that watches this game tonight and the one in Knoxville and says, Oklahoma. Bring them on. Well, yeah, we'd love to play Oklahoma's defense. Is there anybody out there who has that attitude right now? No, they're all looking at Oklahoma going, oh boy.
They look
They might make the playoff.
They look like the best defense in the country tonight. When
Absolutely.
you factor in what Alabama.
Let's just call it confirmed.
It's
Myth
been
confirmed. Oklahoma has the best defense in the country.
we'll send all of our royalties to Adam Savage and Jamie Heineman for that. It's very exciting. You look at it Tuesday night, but like Brent Venables said, the story of this week is going to be as Missouri beat Mississippi State 49-27 tonight. A big rushing attack for Missouri. I know that they've got the backup quarterback, and LSU, who looked like they might have the Q word out. They were able to survive against Arkansas, things like that. I said it in my takeaways. They're going to have to successfully complete the Tiger two-step here to get to everywhere that they want to go. And on paper, they're not the two games we thought it was going to be when the schedule, we were looking at it in June and breaking it down. Games you should win, yes, but I can't wait to see. It was a great atmosphere here today. Carson certainly seemed like it. I can't wait to hear that roar as the Sooners take the field at 11 a.m. on Saturday, because you know that Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium is going to be absolutely bumping the next 2 weeks.
They've earned a lot of fan support.
And they've got 3 home games left if the Cards play their way.
Yeah.
Get a free home game.
Yeah, no, it'll be fun.
Not free to anyone that has to get into the stadium, but sorry.
Hopefully the weather's better than it was the last time there was an 11 a.m. kick in Norman. But, I mean, this team has earned the crowd support. And I think against a traditional Big 12 rival, a good defense, I think people know the stakes of this game that we just spent, almost an hour talking about. It's going to be a big one, so I'm excited.
One of the big talking points from a couple of years ago, and actually, if you go back to not this past offseason, but the first offseason coming to the SEC, before all the injuries, before everything, one of the big talking points for Brent Venables was like, how do we handle success, learning all that stuff?
Yep.
Well, that's going to be put into action this week, but I guarantee you, those are questions Brent Venables is happy to field this week. I think those are questions Oklahoma fans are happy to sit through this week, because the Sooners are rocking and rolling and in a fantastic spot following their 23-21 victory over the Alabama Crimson Tide at Bryant-Denny Stadium. All of our coverage, Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Be sure you head there. Who's turned out a couple of stories? I got a couple of stories. When we get in the car, we'll be having more stories up. We got the PFF stuff. That's all up.
Pro Football Focus is already up. Go check it out.
We got takeaways, stock report. We've got report card. If you want to see how Aber graded everybody, we've got that. I wrote about the Bowens.
Highlights.
We got highlights. We got a Hoover story about the grit, toughness, determination. I'm writing about Taylor Wine. We'll have special teams. All that fun stuff and more is coming. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. We'll be back in Norman Monday night for player interviews. We'll talk to Brent Venables and Ben Arbuckle on Tuesday as they turn the page to Missouri. You know the drill. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Gentlemen, before we get out of here, Dixieland Delight. It hit. It seemed fantastic.
It's pretty cool.
I know
even the OU player said that was really cool.
Yeah. I like the red floodlights. It's very, very simple, but the crimson floodlights. I could do without traveling to Alabama and having the male cheerleader get the microphone and scream at people. That was a feature both at Auburn and at Alabama.
I thought finally that Oklahoma and their hype man has, for annoying properties, somebody finally outdid OU's hype man.
They beat it.
Yeah, impressive. Guy did some good work today.
Malcolm's great. I will not. Is it what I want at a college football game?
Right.
Maybe not.
No, he's good at what he does.
He's good at what he does.
It's just annoying as hell.
Would I book that for my college football game? No. Does he do a great job at the Paycom Center? Yes. I support you, Malcolm.
Same guy. Yeah, in case you were wondering.
I support Malcolm. But other than that,
he's not going to come beat me up, is he? The way you're talking, I mean, it's like I'm in trouble.
Malcolm's fantastic. I just would like to be sure that everyone knows where I stand. Plenty of elephant, plenty of the Alabama, the elephant head that rocks back and forth with the crimson eyes on third down graphic.
That's pretty awesome, not going to lie. I wish they had a live mascot, though. Bring out a live elephant. That would be badass. I would love that, but...
Miss Terry on the elephant?
Yep. That would be amazing. But besides that, really cool place to watch a game. Not quite as loud as what we saw in Neyland, but really nice stadium, really historic, obviously. This trip was sick.
From the game notes that Mike Houck and the Oklahoma Comms team put out, it was the 4th largest crowd Oklahoma's ever played in front of. Wow. Columbus, Ohio, the 2 at Neyland. This game here, Oklahoma 4-0 in games in front of 100,000 plus.
They like it.
Oklahoma 2-0 all-time at Neyland Stadium, 2-0 all-time at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
Ridiculous.
Put that in your SEC and smoke it.
That's right. Good stuff. Good one to end on.
We'll close it down there. For Hoover, for Carson, thanks to Jesse for putting us in the back. Thank you to Aber and Trantham for everything that they do. We're going to drive back to Hoover Alabama, and get all that stuff rocking and rolling. Like we said, Wednesday we'll pod, break down everything that the players, Ben Arbuckle, Brent Venables had to say previewing Missouri. Then we'll be back in action 11 a.m. bright and early back in Norman for one of two massive, massive home games to close out the regular season. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Sooners on SI Postgame Podcast. We'll talk to you guys Wednesday.
Place is so nice they named a whole town after me.